Thank you, Sean. That was a good story. Mark, you're in a different role as one of the biggest distributors in the world. And the one question I think I have for you, because one of the big mysterious things when Grubby Clark had his big kind of thing on this was everybody wanted to know, give their best estimate of how many actual surfers are there in the world, And it's like, there's only a handful of people who might know, and it's like, but it's like, how many are there? What's the demographic in your opinion? And if you were to crack it up, shortboarders, longboarders, somewhere in between, give us what you're seeing out there, any trends, macro.
Which one of those 15 questions do you want me to answer?
Well, give us the macro first.
It's definitely like people are riding a wider range of boards now. And Kelly again has been the driving force of the change of surfboard design. He's over the years, he's pretty much been a lot of the influence in surfboard design change from, when he came down to Bells with that little sort of 5/4 fin, that sort of changed the world pretty quickly. But it's definitely, I think people now have a bigger quiver mentality than ever before. So, even like Thomas Meyerhofer winning the best in show here, that board, and there's a lot of interest about that, where years ago people would have looked at it and went, what is that thing, So I think people's eyes are really open. I think the Waterman thing, with Laird and Dave and stand-up paddleboards, everything from Tom Wagler's finless boards all the way through to, stand-up paddleboards, it's sort of everything. And at the same time, it can be nothing. So people still want to ride a 6/1 by 19 by whatever, So it's up to the individual person. If they want to experiment, it's there.
Safe to say, though, that the consumer today has more choices than they've ever had before?
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
Surfing. I mean, would you guys all agree to that? And that's, we can all agree, a very positive thing?
Yeah.
Although slightly overwhelming when you need to figure out what you want to buy?
Differentiation in the market is always a good thing.
Yeah.
If everyone's selling the same thing, it'll just come down to price in the end. It's just not going to be like that.
Yeah, just a commodity.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So Daniel, obviously you're doing some pretty out there designs by, most standards. Talk to us about the fun you're having, the success you're having, and, the response you're getting to this, and specifically some of your team riders who are gambling, and like Stuart Kennedy and stuff, like taking those boards out and testing them in heats and that kind of stuff. Is it a fun ride for you to watch all that?
Most definitely. It's been really interesting to see how the world and the industry takes on the concepts I've been playing with. But I guess like most shapers and designers, I've just kind of started on this, process of refining a design that I like myself. And in a certain way, it's been a personal pursuit of just riding and shaping and trying to get the feelings that I want to experience in the water into a board, and then it kind of takes on its own form, which is not really consciously thought about. It just kind of happens that way, and you go, okay, here I am with this board that I like to ride, and then it's interesting to see how people take it and digest what I'm doing, and at first it's a bit of a like eye opener for everyone, like, oh, that's just crazy for the sake of being crazy and this and that,
but you believe it. I mean, the funny thing is, you were one of these people who, it was more than 10 years ago now, when the whole sort of fish revival came back. You were one of these people. I remember sitting in a room like this at a trade show, watching footage of you at Lennox Head on like one of those cane gardens, and it was like kind of the spark that lit the whole fish revival. And it was like, oh, you could go shorter and wider and all this. And now what's interesting to me, and we've written about this in the past, but it's like, your whole theory now is you do not have to go wider to go faster. You could go shorter and narrower, which is just
I'm actually going the other way. I'm going shorter and narrower, and the only way that's possible is to get a real parallel outline that maintains as much volume from forward of the center and back of the center in a real stable little rectangular platform, much like a water ski or a wakeboard, But it's different. It's fun. It's like we were all saying before. It's diversity in the market, and it's just it's a different take on modern high performance, and it doesn't have to be better or worse. It's just something new, and it's adding to the whole range of what we enjoy as surfing every day. So
only a matter of time before somebody wins a big event on that thing, or what?
Well, that's everyone's dream. I'm sure John is experiencing some of that now and getting a lot of personal satisfaction out of that. I guess all of us have, a desire to be recognised and have our designs out there on a high level. So of course that's what I would like to see that, but you know, it's all about fun, and if people are enjoying my boards and like, you know, everyone's having a good time in the water and we're creating stoke and our customers are stoked and it's spreading good vibes and we're doing our job.
Yeah. Now Matt, you are representing pretty much, you know, a massive segment of the market when you consider classic longboards, the whole 9 yards, and that's something where, again, I think there's even more appreciation for that side of the sport or art or whatever this is than there's ever been. Are you feeling that? Is that something, is your business feeling that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the classic longboard thing is, it's actually kind of leveling out, the single fins, and now it's like mid-ranges and like hybrid fishes and Simmons-esque type boards, and I mean, it's like so wide open, and I'm kind of a bread and butter type brand. I kind of cater to the average surfer, and I just did a European tour, and basically I'm trying to do is like make a board that'll work in the Mediterranean or like Sweden. We were just there, and it was like, there's no waves, but they need a board with volume, but yet is refined enough to where it still feels like what their shortboard turns like and everything, but they want it to be easy. And
right.
So, you know, right now everybody's minds are opening to like stuff that Daniel's doing, and it's like wide open, and it's like there's no limit, and it's a real exciting time. I mean, I take one design like the Simmons, and it's just keep evolving, just like, you know, Daniel does, but I'm going in a sort of like a different direction and trying to make like waves that weren't really surfable on shortboards and make them possible to like for them to have fun, because it's really about having fun.
Yeah.
And so that's my goal. And then like the single fin thing's evolving too. So, but these days you got to make the boards work. You know, you got to go through the trials over and over to make sure that board, you know, somebody jumps on and goes, oh my God, this thing has just changed my life.
Right.
And that's like the rewarding part of it, is that we're getting so refined. It's an exciting time to be a board builder.
Now, I mean, Peter, you grew up obviously competing during the space race of shaping, right? And it was literally, I mean, the world's best surfers were all shaping boards, and you guys were competing for this new thing called the world title, and it was like, hey, the new thing would get you somewhere. MR proved that, right? And I guess my question is, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like back then the mentality was everybody was looking for that silver bullet design that could work in everything. That's changed, right? There is no silver bullet. Can we all agree?
Well, yeah, what's really changed is that back in the day when all of that was happening, the world's best surfers on the tour, half of us were shaping our own boards. I mean, I was riding all my own boards other than on the North Shore when I was world champion. But when we came to Hawaii, we went to the other guys, because I always say, after 7'6", if you're not shaping it all the time, you can't see the lines. And that's when the whole parish thing evolved, with Hackman and I going down there with a Brewer 8-foot gun and showing Tom, this is what we want, because we couldn't get him from Brewer because he didn't want to shape that many. But what I think is really, really cool at the moment is the individuality that's come back to going surfing, where everybody like wants to do their own thing, and it emanates from the table. Whether you're a top 32 ASB guy or you're an old guy. I might be the oldest at the table these days, but my whole trip at the moment is Mattison made me a board about a year ago, the Shadow, which went, wow, I went, this thing's just like, and my whole goal right now is to build a board for a 60-year-old that you can rip on. and I actually just went in the room, and I didn't shape it. I haven't picked up a planer in 20 years, but I was in the integral process of making the measurements and the thing, and it came out, it's called the joint effort. And it's like 6.5 and 21 1/4, and 5 fin boxes, and a little bit more forward, you know, because I need a little bit more for my gut to handle today to catch it. And I've never been so stoked, just like I was when I was a Grom on a new board. I mean, I'm so into this new board, and I think that is what's in the marketplace in general. There's guys like me, there's Groms learning about surfboards, there's people on the classic trip. What Daniel's doing, I think, is incredible. I mean, for someone like me at 60, I can't catch a wave on a board that small, but But from a point of view of the mentality and the psychology, I just think we're in a really, really cool time for the industry as a whole. I mean, the big challenge is how do you make money out of this industry? That's the big challenge.
That's a whole different seminar. Now, Timmy, I know we just talked about how diverse the market is today, which, on the one hand, that's a positive for consumers. On the other, I'm one of those people who goes into a store and I get completely overwhelmed if I don't know exactly what I'm looking for. And when you guys, all of you have you started out at some point with a relationship with your customer and you all built a base. How has the communication with your customer changed over the last few years? As you grow, what's the challenge to basically just guide somebody in the door? Like the surf shop, even the surf shops change. It's like the average guy on the floor, can they communicate what needs to be communicated about your equipment at that level? And how important is that? Because now that these things are so diverse, there's some messaging that needs to get out there. And how do you do it?
Well, for me, I'm fortunate that my retail shop right above my shaping room. So, and I have one in-house in the retail shop. So, my workers all spend a little time with me, and it's really fun because they're fresh at it. They didn't have to go through the 20 years of just where you got to be busy. Now you have that time for customers and to spend with them. And in my retail, I have a little shaping room that's, when I get in there and start to get into it, a few customers, and they really ask the questions, what does this one do? Well, I like this one, but I surf like this one. So
do you get to spend much time on the floor? Do you ever do that?
Yeah, when I do, I get stuck there for a while. The half hour turns into 2 hours later, but it's cool because
but that's the part
it
of the
goes
job
like
you
that.
enjoy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice to get back into people again. Where it was you were the cool guy shaper, and to get that, just let it go.
Yeah.
Let the ego go and have fun with customers again. It's like the best part of shaping for me right now is it's just hanging with customers.
Maurice, what's your experience like right now? I mean, because you're always off doing something interesting. How the heck are you communicating with your fan base, man?
Yeah, well, it's I guess I'm a little bit left of field. Probably always have been. I mean, I hear all of this stuff going on, and I guess I've been really out there for the last 4 or 5 years. I've had a little bit of a fight with cancer, so I've probably let the business go, but I've actually been out there really designing and really pushing limits on boards to where I think that I'm trying to design boards off the toe boards. I use really deep concaves. It's like the difference between a mono hull and a catamaran, less wetted surface area. And I've spoken to a lot of hydrodynamic people, so I've probably let the customer go and have probably become a little bit of a recluse and an introvert, which a lot of people wouldn't believe that, especially when they hear me talking all the time. But I've actually probably, I believe that a lot of the designs out there have become the main brands have become very homogenized, very similar. I've measured a whole bunch of boards this year from the pros, and basically they're riding the same boards that we were riding 12, 13 years ago, identical rocker lines. And, I talk to Kelly a bit. He comes and visits every Easter. We were talking about Kelly before. One of the real things with Kelly is, as Sean sort of alluded to, he'll try anything. The difference with Kelly and a lot of surfers today is he's really inspired by his surfboards. When he goes surfing, he's trying this, he's trying that, he's doing a lot of different things. Whereas a lot of people can't take that risk. And I'm out there and I've always been a risk taker. And, a lot of my designs, people come on and just go, wow. And they're pretty scared by it. So I guess I've been hiding under my rock for the last 5 years. And I've only virtually coming out in it's been the last 3 or 4 months, I think, and bringing some new stuff out. So I haven't had much contact with the customer. I've probably always dictated a little bit too much and go, this is what I make, this is what you get. If you want something different, go somewhere else. And maybe that's why, you know, I increased my production. I think it was a couple of 100%. I went from 1 board to 3 boards a week. So once again, it's like I'm probably the perfect example of the really bad business model. So maybe someone else, maybe Mark, he's got a better business model. But I guess I'm out in left field doing a lot of creative and innovative design work. And
so your customers are basically the astronauts, the guys out there totally experimenting. That's big.
Guys where I surf, I think I'm still the oldest guy. I ride 510s.
Right.
And I ride a 6.3 up to about 10 feet. If it's over and a 511 toe board. So I guess I'm a little bit different to most people at the table, but as PT said, it's probably been like that ever since he knew me.
Yeah, that's funny.
So, since you slept on the floor at Sunset.
Yeah, since I was sleeping on the floor at Sunset in '73.
Right, exactly.
So that's an interesting segue to the gun thing, Pat, because I mean, you were a lot of the stuff that the guns, today's big wave boards have changed dramatically. What are you seeing? What are you doing? What have you changed in that regard?
You know, it's really polarized on the North Shore too. There's a lot more guys making good guns. I mean, John does a great job. Eric, myself. There's a lot of traveling guys that'll, like Maurice, will come over. You know, we're all out there experimenting and trying to work with, you know, the people at hand. What I really found, I'd say the biggest change in the last 7 years is probably the length. Like Maurice was saying, he rides a 6.3 and 10-foot surf. I've got young guys like Shama Buttonshaw, like, he's young. He doesn't know that you can't go out on a 6.0 and ride 10-foot waves. And he goes out there and ribs on a 6.0 pool. So I've had to, you know, I'm like an older guy now, you know. We all know the game. You get older, you don't get out there as much. But I've been able to kind of use their eyes and their ears and their feedback, and that's a lot of fun. Big part of.
Yeah, absolutely. So John, the you know, when you talked about more attention being paid to you now that you have a title contender, how does somebody like yourself, I mean, how do you leverage that? How do you open up?
I'd love to hear
you know, how are you? But I mean, how are you communicating? And what percentage? I mean, obviously, John's state-of-the-art, high-performance surfer. Is that the majority of your boards that you're shaping? Is that the segment of the market that you cater to?
No, I was actually thinking of that when we were thinking of kind of my thoughts on that is, realistically, those guys, like the pro surfers at a real high level, whether it's, you know, the top few guys or the top 100 guys or whatever, they're all kind of looking. They're not looking for something. Most of them, Kelly Slater is a strange anomaly, but they're looking for consistency. They're looking for, like, hey, this is my go-to board. Like, I know what it's going to feel like and how it's going to go in certain conditions, and being able to count on that. And so in that sense, you really get, like, you have a real small area of room to play,
right,
which isn't that fun as a surfboard